Hello, today I am going to be sharing 5 different summer weeknight dinners that are quick and easy and just perfect for this time of year. So I am starting off with one of my favorite dinners. I make this pretty much every single Monday. So yes, if you've seen my videos before, I am back with my Monday roast. It just makes things so easy when I'm starting off my week and I just know what I'm having. Also, I love this kind of dinner where you just throw everything together into one pan in the beginning of the morning, or the middle of the morning rather, beginning of the day, and then you just throw it in the oven, and then dinner time rolls around, all you have to do is pull it out and serve it. Because with Monday, I always like to try to get as many different things as I can sort of done, sort of like front load my week, and get a lot of things around here accomplished so that the rest of the week can just be a little bit more relaxed and easy. So that's why I like a dinner like this to start off my week. So this is a prime rib beef roast. I have some salt and pepper in there, potatoes, onion. I'm going to be peeling some carrots and adding them as well. But if you saw me with that jar of homemade fermented pickles, I poured some of the pickle brine into the pan where the roast is sitting. So fermenting meat before it cooks is something that I love to do. So ideally you can let that sit in there for a few hours before cooking. This is a GAPS diet trick from Dr. Natasha. But fermenting the meat makes amazing flavor. It adds just a little bit of liquid that kind of helps with the cook time. But I have this in here 325 today. I'll do either 275, 300, 325, just depending on what time I ended up getting this in the oven. But this is going to roast most of the day, and then when it's dinner time, I'll just be able to pull this out and then serve it with some sauerkraut on the side. But if you've never tried adding fermented brine to your meat before you roast it in the oven like this, I highly recommend it. Like I said, it adds amazing flavor to the meat. It's supposed to, according to Dr. Natasha, help with digestibility for the meat. I just know that it makes the most tender and delicious and flavorful meat when you do it that way. So we are ready to go ahead and serve this up and enjoy it. And if you're wondering about how this works as a summer weeknight meal, I find that having something roasting for most of the day on a low temperature in the oven is not a problem. I don't find that it adds to heating up the house or anything like that. A higher temperature, I could see that maybe being an issue, but I've never seen this be an issue. If you were concerned about that, this can also be done in the crock pot. You just have to extend the cook time a bit, starting it much earlier to make that work, but that could be another option. I know sometimes people will put a crock pot like out in their garage if they're really concerned about adding any heat into their house. And then whenever I've made some meat in the oven, especially anything with a bone, I like to save the liquid in my little freezer super cube containers. I just strain it out and pour it in there and then freeze it. And then whenever I need to make like a sauce or something that needs a nice beef broth base to it, then I just pop 1 or 2 of these out and add it. Super convenient, and none of that great flavor goes to waste. For my next dinner, we are going to be doing some burritos with some green chili. So the first thing I'm going to do is get my ground beef browning. I just have this grass-fed ground beef that we get from a local farm. I'm adding some mineral salt to it, some pepper. I'm also going to add some onion powder and garlic powder, and then just get this browning. For the green chili part of this recipe, I'm just putting together a really easy from scratch green chili. So I am starting off with some butter. So I just have a big old chunk of grass-fed butter that I'm putting into my pan, and I'm going to let that start melting. And I'm going to add some arrowroot powder to it, and then I'll just let this kind of start heating up and cooking together. Once that has really turned in kind of a nice browning sort of a paste situation and is just getting nice and heated up, you remember my beef broth cubes that I like to save from dinner. So I'm going to pop one of those out and add that to the pan, and as that melts, it's going to be adding some liquid. So these are super concentrated beef cubes, and so I end up adding a bit of water to kind of dilute that a little bit, just because it's such a concentrated form of beef broth. And so I am just going to add my green chilies to this also. There's the water that I mentioned. And then just seasoning that to taste with some salt, some pepper, and then I'm really just letting this kind of heat up so the water and the beef stock can just come up to temperature and get nice and hot, and then bring it to a simmer. It'll thicken as it cooks. I'm going to also get my toppings ready that we're going to have with these burritos. I'm just shredding some lettuce. I'm also going to slice some avocado so that we can have that as well. And then once that green chili is ready, we are really ready to plate everything up. Probably.
That would be pretty cool if you learned how to play that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So inside the burritos, along with that nice browned ground beef, we're putting some black beans, also some cheese, both white cheddar and yellow cheddar, and then I'm going to roll that up, and I'm going to do 2 of these on this plate, so same fillings on the inside. And then once we have those burritos on there, I'm going to go ahead and smother them with that green chili. Sometimes I like to put the green chili on the inside of the burrito too. I just didn't do that this time, but that can be really tasty as well. Lots of green chili on the top of there. And then once that's on there, then I like to add a little more sprinkle of cheese so that can kind of melt with that hot green chili. Add some lettuce, add some sour cream, some avocado slices, and salsa if we want it, and then we're going to enjoy these. For the next dinner, we are doing something that can be really fun because you can incorporate a lot of different in-season produce and vegetables and different things, just depending on what you have from markets or farms or coming out of the garden. And here it's pretty early in the growing season at the time of filming of this video, but I still have a few nice fresh things I'm going to use. But the first thing that I'm going to do is get my chicken cut up. So obviously you could make this a lot faster and easier if you buy pieces of chicken. We raise our own meat chickens, and so they come whole, obviously, and so if you want chicken pieces, you have to cut it up yourself, which is, I think, a good skill to have. So I'm just cutting off those different pieces: thighs, legs, wings, and then the white meat I'm taking off the back, from the back and neck, and then I'm going to quarter that into 4 main pieces, and then I have all those pieces onto my baking sheets. And once that chicken is on there, I'm going to go ahead and season that with some salt and pepper. And I'm going to start by having that chicken get a head start roasting in the oven, and then I'll work on preparing everything else that's going to go along with it. I should mention also that I'm adding some of one of my favorite all-time ingredients that I'm a huge fan of, and if you've been on my channel for a while you will know, grass-fed tallow. So this is going to be my fat that the chicken are going to just kind of roast in. So adding that salt and pepper for seasoning, popping them into the oven, a 400-degree Fahrenheit oven, and I'm just going to get those kind of on a head start. My total cook time should be around 45 to 50 minutes. But I'm going to have those start for about 15 minutes while I'm getting my next things in. So next is going to be sweet potatoes, just peeling those and then cutting them into some bigger chunks so they're a good size for roasting. So I'm doing everything in order. Everything that needs to take longer cook time goes in there first, and then things that need less time will go in a little bit later. Small. Okay. Next up, for what I'm adding are some carrots. So I peeled those, and then I'm just cutting the ends off of them and then cutting them into some larger chunks that will work well for roasting, and setting those aside as some of the next things that will go in. The sweet potato and carrots are going to go in at the same time, since they can both take a little bit of a longer roasting time. And then I'm just getting everything ready right now. So I'm moving into my red onion. Red onion is really nice because it has a great sweet flavor when it's roasted. It's really, really tasty. So just, again, peeling those, having them, cutting them into each half into thirds, so it's a nice bigger size for roasting. And then also taking the ends off of my Brussels sprouts and cutting each one in half. So at this point, we're going to take those pieces of chicken out that have been roasting for about 15 minutes and add my carrots and sweet potatoes and put those back in for another about 15 minutes. We kind of just go roughly by 15-minute increments, but watch everything to see how it's looking and then adjust if it looks like things need more or less time. So after those carrots and sweet potatoes have been in there with the chicken for a little while, it is time to go ahead and add those next vegetables that don't need quite as long of a roasting time. So that's going to be my red onions and my Brussels sprouts, and adding another nice sprinkle of salt on those just to make sure that everything has a great flavor, and then we'll finish up that roasting time. So once I'm sure that everything looks like it's cooked just the way that I like it and the chicken looks like it's cooked through, it is something you kind of have to keep an eye on with the bone-in pieces of chicken, then it's ready to plate everything up and serve it. And then we are adding a nice probiotic dose to this dinner by adding some sauerkraut along the side. I like to make it a goal to try to have fermented food with every meal. We don't always do it perfectly, but it is a really nice goal to have. For our next dinner, we are doing one that my kids were especially excited about, that we don't make super often, but is really fun to do every once in a while and is a really nice, refreshing dinner that is wonderful for those hot months, and that is pasta salad. So I have some organic pasta, and we have some water that we brought to a boil. We're adding those noodles and letting them cook for the correct amount of time. My son was very interested in helping those cook. We don't usually have this shape of noodle either, and just not noodles super often anyway, so he was very excited to help cook these. And then I'm getting the other things ready that are going to go in the pasta salad too. So I have some fresh basil leaves that I just chopped up. I have a bunch of all natural uncured pepperoni, so I'm just slicing those up into some smaller pieces and getting those ready to go. I am also going to add some cheese. Now, mozzarella would be a kind of like a customary cheese to add to a pasta salad, but I wanted to do white cheddar. My mom oftentimes would make pasta salad with cheddar, so it's kind of a flavor that I grew up with, and so I thought that that would be tasty, so I wanted to do that this time. So I have my grass-fed raw white cheddar that I'm chopping up. By the way, I get this cheese in bulk from Azure Standard. There's a link down in the description. You can check them out. It's an awesome deal compared to buying raw cheese anywhere else. But those pasta noodles are ready to strain, so I'm just dumping those into my strainer, putting them into the bowl. I'm going to let them cool a bit. It would be nice if they cooled all the way, but we're also ready to eat dinner, so I'm going to start assembling this. Even though they're still a little bit on the warm side, I'm just going to be mindful of the order so that the cheese doesn't start to melt. But I'm going to go ahead and start adding my pepperonis first. And then I have a couple different organic olives. I have some of the darker purple colored ones, some green ones that are stuffed with garlic cloves. I am also going to be adding some fresh little cherry tomatoes. And then I'll add in my cheese and my basil. And then I have a homemade vinaigrette dressing that I mixed up. I actually made this fairly recently. I didn't make it today. This is one thing that I oftentimes will just have in the refrigerator. So it's apple cider vinegar, extra virgin olive oil. I add some Italian seasoning to it. Sometimes I'll add a little bit of Dijon mustard or something like that. Maybe even honey to do like a honey mustard vinaigrette. This one's just a really basic one with oil, vinegar, and some Italian seasoning, a little salt and pepper. So I'm drizzling that over, and then it is ready to serve and enjoy. So I would also love, I have some more recipes coming up, so keep watching, but I would love to know, what are your favorite weeknight dinners for summertime? If you could let me know in the comments what some of your favorite dinners are, I would love to hear. I think it's so fun always to hear what other people like making for easy weeknight dinners in the summertime. For our next dinner, we're going to do a really fun one. This is a skewer, so it's a bunch of kind of grilled vegetables, just chunked up into big chunks, put on skewers, and then I also have some steak. So this is just like the grass-fed beef that I used before. This is all natural grass-fed beef that we get from a local farm, and the steaks that I'm going to be using are little tenderloin fillets. So I'm just going to start by chopping up my bell peppers. I have several different colors of those, my zucchini, and my onions, and once those are all chopped and ready to go, then I will go ahead and get my steaks and start cutting them into little pieces. Then I'll assemble everything, and then we'll take it outside and cook these on the grill. I did end up having a bit of the vegetables left over that didn't fit on the skewer after I had used up all the meat, and so I threw those in my tall-sided cast iron skillet on the stove with just a little bit of tallow in there, and then let those saute, and those tasted really good. Often they tasted really similar to the vegetables that were cooked out on the grill, and so if anybody wanted extra vegetables, then we had those available with dinner also. I definitely enjoyed a bunch of those when we ate this.
It's got to be cooked first.
It was a little bit of an interesting experiment figuring out how to make everything come out even. I tried to follow a pattern on the skewers, and I guess I got it pretty good for the most part. But we're going to take these out, and I have the grill heating up, and I'm just going to lay these on here and get them cooking. And then after a little bit, I think I let them go for about 7 minutes, if I'm remembering right. Just came and turned them all over so that they could finish grilling on the other side. And then once they were done, they were ready to come off and enjoy. And these were really tasty. We all really enjoyed them. I want to thank you so much for coming along with me as I made these dinners. If you liked this video, it would mean a lot to me if you could give it a like. Make sure to leave a comment and let me know what your favorite weeknight dinners are as well, and check out that description box for ebooks that I've made for you guys. I also have a brand new free workshop down there. Alright, thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!